Okay, shalom everyone. I thought I would this morning before I get out of here, I was just purchased a blue microphone and also um, I'm trying this web cam called Bandy Web. You either can download it for free and get 10 minutes free recording, or you can buy for a year $33. I think for a lifetime it's 40, almost $50. So anyway, I'm trying this out. It has a little issues, but I have a webcam with the microphone, but I just thought I'd just try this out. At least I have it for a year to try out. So anyways, today I wanted to look at a map that I've shown on my channel a couple of times. I think the last time I talked about on this subject, I just used this map and I was referring to the map to the left, but I just didn't have the tools on my computer to show both. So now with this Band-Aid cam, I can do that. I'm just hoping that the quality comes up when I upload it. So what I'm going to have to do is enlarge most of the stuff so it can so you can see the map. So I'm going to do that now. I think the larger the map, the better you can see when I get ready to upload it. Okay, so what we're looking at right now is the map to the right, where the CFA France is used in this in Africa. We know that this area here, the West Africa and Central Africa, France have a deep pocket in this area, and it's obvious because of this war in Niger. They're trying to invade Niger, not just to, I don't believe it has anything to do with them restoring the president. It all has to do with his greed for the minerals and resources over there and the rest of the Western world too. Then he seems to be able to talk the brethren from Nigeria and I think Benin too to go and try to intervene. But yet they're standing back with their hands behind their back as if they have nothing to do with it. So, but he's not going to be clear of this evil that he's doing. He's going to have to one day reap what he's done because he has kept these people oppressed too long. And France been in slave business since the transatlantic slave trade. I mean, they had their people, France and the other Europe, like I think it's Portugal, Spain, going over to Africa, taking our people, bringing them back and enslaving them. And it says that, and I have this book it's a slave book with a lot of information regarding the slave trade, the numbers. I mean, just the maps and everything. I mean, they kept records, y'all. They kept records. I couldn't believe this book I found at a bookstore. And in that book, it was talking about these same areas over here, the same Ivory Coast, Senegal, Togo, Gamba, Congo, Central Republican. I can see through these glasses. Burkina Faso, all of these areas in that book, and it talks about the slaves. How many slaves that was taken. It shows the area where they went, the amount of these slaves. It talked about the different boats in the docks, and it talked about one dock, and it was talking about how it took about 400 some slaves to actually take them there. Yeah, there's a dock. And they would take slaves to, it's called Judah. So we know that there's a map that shows the kingdom of Judah, and we know that they were taking individuals from that particular area, and it's in this book I have. I mean, it's a really detailed book. But anyway, I may share some of that information one day. But I just want to go back to this map here because this map to the right is going to coincide with the map to the left. So we talk about Ivory Coast, which is in the light yellow. These are the countries in West Africa, and then lower over here in Central Africa. And so anyway, I want to go to this map right here, and the same countries on this map is also on this map that is in a book called The Lost Tribal Myth. The Lost Tribal Myth, and it's by Allen H Godbey, Godbey. And this is a pretty thick book. And this map that I'm showing you comes from this book here. I have another book that's called Travel in North Africa. And this is by a gentleman by the name of Nahum Slouschz. Now he's a Jew. So he did some traveling in Northeast Africa because he heard about the black Jews there. So he went and did some investigation and took a lot of documents. But I'm going to read some of the stuff out of this book so it can tell you what his plan was. Well, I wouldn't say plan, but what he had a deep desire to find out who the black Jews were. It seemed like he was a sincere man, just wanted to know the truth. And I'm going to read you the part that make me believe that he was sincere. And again, this is Travel in North Africa, Nahum Slouschz. Now you can get these two books off ABE Book online. And I purchased both of them for $234, but they are reprints. But what I did was I also download the books on PDF so I can compare. But each book are really expensive. The Lost Tribe and Myth, they're trying to sell on Amazon, a couple other platforms or companies, like 21,000. I seen another time I seen it was like 41,000. So you wonder why. You wonder why do they do that, sell those books so high with this kind of information showing facts and truth about the true ancestral or the ancient people of the time, God's ancient people, because he said we were ancient people that have strayed from our ancient path, and that's in Isaiah, I think it is. And so they knew who they were picking up when they went to Africa. They went straight to West Africa, and seemed like they've been there ever since, messing with our people and keeping them oppressed. But anyways, I'm gonna go to the map right here. I'm gonna show you, along with the map to the right, that these are the same people on this map that was created by whoever had the records to create this, because they did a lot of traveling in these places and documentation. So that's how they know that there were colonies of African in Africa that was Jewish colonies or Hebrew Israelite colonies. Because we are Israelites, we're not Jews, but they put Jewish traits. You know how that is. But it's actually Hebrew Israelite traits is what it is. And I'm going to be using the word Hebrew Israelite because that is who we are and that is who our ancestors were. So here is Senegambia here, and then you have Senegal here. You have Ivory Coast, and then right on the map here, on the, I guess these are rivers or whatever is here, Gold Coast. You have the Slave Coast, and you have the Ivory Coast. So Ivory Coast here. So that means our people was in Ivory Coast during a time of it's saying it's going back, because it was saying here, let me go back and read this because I want to read this because he specifies something important. It says Yemen Jews and Falashis, Berber, Moorish, and Negro Jews. The name in red, so the name in red here, Benin, Dahomey, Jewish trace here, Levite. It says the names in red in the northern Sahara are oases in which some Berbers Judaism survive. It is estimated about 15,000 Jews are scattered through the interior, through that area in Sahara Desert at that time. And it says other names in red are places of ancient Jewish colonies. In some cases, an approximated date of settlement is added. So we know that there were back in, see, give a date here on this one. It says, now here, see where it says Gold Coast and the Slave Coast, and we know Ivory Coast, talking about the same area. Are people there then and still there today? So it says Gold Coast have the arrow traces here. These arrows indicate traces of what they call Jewish colonies. When I say Israelite Hebrew colonies, it has B'nai Ephraim and the Levite city, the homies, Jews, Jewish traces here too. So these all, it says this arrow here shows that these are Jewish traces. Now I'm going to go and read this portion where it's pointing the arrow from. It says present population driven from, I think that's Central Sudan, by, let me see if I can move this, by Muslim propagandism after long traffic with coast from the Carthage to Alexandria through Berber intermediaries, old Phoenicians, Minos, ornaments still found. So I guess they, right here, the question mark, was these also found? But we know that it says there are Jewish traces here. And here's Liberia, Sierra Leone. Okay. Then also it says here, and it's pointing here, B'nai Ephraim, up in this area, Dahomey, still all these pointing towards Dahomey. It says that the Terra Costa heads of the pattern 500 BC and foreign quarters of Memphis. Okay, so it gives, because it just said also gives dates, some dates on here. So that was 500 BC, y'all. This is talking about, they're saying that these people was there during this time. Our people was there. They were there, and they're still there today until this day, and they still practice until this day. We came from this area. I was on my DNA, and a lot of people don't believe in DNA, but I have to say DNA is true to a certain degree. I know it can pinpoint my tribe, but I definitely know it can pinpoint based on my DNA. It can pinpoint what area, possible area, and most of the black people that go and do their DNA, you're going to find that it's West Africa. It's West Africa. So they knew when they went to West Africa, they knew exactly they were going to get Hebrew Israelites. That's who they knew they were going to get, and they knew they were God's chosen people. And until this day, they still. So this, this is a, as I've heard people say, and I really believe it is, this is a spiritual thing between two nations. The nation of Esau and the nation of Jacob. They are still angry because of what happened during that time when Esau refused the heritage for some parcel of beans or whatever it was. He gave up his rights. So he's still angry at that. And remember when Esau swore to kill Jacob? He's still doing it today, you all. It's still happening. This is a tribal war that's been going on for thousands of years. At least 2,000. From generation to generation to generation to generation, until the Most High comes and destroy all these wicked nations that he said he would utterly destroy. That's in Jeremiah 30, and I think it's also in Isaiah 60 and 61. One of the 60 or 61. So anyway, getting back to the map. So we know that it was traces there. It kind of they can. It's like they'll tell the truth, but they always have to mix themselves in it. Like, how can I know that Israel comes in all shades. I know that. But Israel does not come in all ethnicities as far as DNA. So it's like we as a people, seem like every time that we want to be separate, they always want to include themselves. But when they want to be separate, they don't want us to include, they don't want to include us, but they expect for us to include them. So we know that Jacob, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were men of color. They was born in Africa. They were men of color. You know, I don't like to use that word black, but they had dark skin, because the Most High God dealt with nations. He didn't deal with skin color. That skin color stuff was created by um, two historians, Chamberlain and some other guy, that divided, started dividing people based on their color, a color line. So that was done like in the early 1900s, when they started dividing that nonsense about Noah had an Asian son, a white son, and a black son. I'm not gonna go there. All sons were men of color. They were men of color. So anyway, so um, Sahara Desert. So let's go over here. I'm going to show some more Cameroon. And here's Cameroon here, between West Africa and Central Africa. So we know if it's near Cameroon in this area, it would also be the Central Africa Republican, because if you down here it has Gabon, but Gabon is have one O here, and then so we know that this area here was all this area here, and that's the Central Africa, because you have Cameroon here, you have Gabon here, and then over here you have Cameroon here, and right below you have the Gabon Republic of Congo. Gabon, and then also Papua Congo and Central Africa Republican. So we know these are the same people. On this map, they found traces of our ancestors in this area, and they're still there till this day. Of course, mixed in with other nations too, but our people are there. And then the Most High know they're there. That's why I said, you know what, they are actually fighting against the Most High, because they're going over there to literally destroy these people. Now remember, and we know this is a fact, I'm not talking evil against Africans. I said we're all from Africa, because Israel was, before they created this new canal in 1869, there was just a plain mass where you can walk over to, from Africa to Israel, or from Egypt to Israel, because we knew this because Joseph and Mary did it. So they created that just to separate Africa, East Africa, from the rest of Africa. And in Joel, the Most High talks about how he's going to destroy those for parting his land, and they don't part his land all over the place. So they got judgment coming. I'm just asking the Lord, even if I don't live to see it, just let me always know in my heart that you keep your word. When you say you're going to utterly destroy all nations that had oppression in your people, you're going to do it. And I have to stand on that. Because you said he is not a man that he should lie. And the Most High, I know, is fair and just. And he had to tell me the other day, because I'm like, Lord, just, why don't you go get them now? Destroy these wicked people. And he had to let me know, that when he does, it's going to be justified. And can no one on the face of this earth say that it's not justified when he does? He wants to be justified, and he wants others to see him being justified when he do his destruction, when he bring it upon these nations, because it's going to be justified. Trust me. They think they're getting away with it, but they're just heaping more coals on their head and digging a ditch for themselves with hellfire in it. So anyway, that was Cameroon. Then you have down here St. Thomas. Let me see. And then also we have Benin Ephraim, St. Thomas Jews. I wonder if St. Thomas Jews is the same as Guinea. I don't have time to look that up, but I remember reading something that with both countries areas was mentioned. Then you have if you go up a little higher, no, to the left, you have the Dahomey Jews, traces of Judeans, I say Israelite colonies. Ashanti here, Israelite colonies, and that's right near the Ivory Coast. Right over here, you have the Ivory Coast up here with Mali, Senegal, and Guinea, Basu. So, and here is Ashanti here, Dahomey. So it's near the Ivory Coast, Gold Coast, and Slave Coast. So we know again that this area here is West Africa. And then remember I showed over here where Cameroon, Gabon are part of the Central Africa. Right here. Gabon, Cameroon, Central, that's all Central Africa. And across from there, you have West Africa. And you have the Ashantis, you have the Liberians, you have the Sierra Leone, you have Gambia, Senegambia. This is West Africa. We notice it's West Africa because you have here Nigeria. Here's Nigeria right across here. And right under Nigeria, you have what they call the Levite cities in this area. So we know this is West Africa. So when they say the kingdom of Judah was found in West Africa, you bet your bottom dollar it was Nigeria. Now this is where I'm reading the map. I'm just trying to compare the map to this, and it, to me, it's adding up. I don't know what they're talking about. It's a white Libyan. You can't, that part. I don't know what they mean about this part, because this is as if this is a map about black Jews and in Niger. So where he get this white Libyan, I don't know what that means there. But anyway, it says Libyan dynasty found among the Negroes, Sahara, about 620 A.D. Again, you all, 620 A.D. Our ancestors was in this area here and still there today. Libyan dynasty found among the Negroes, Sarah, about 620 A.D. by Zael Yemeni. The name suggests Yemenites, Jewish influence, and came. I'm trying to read this map. Has the line influence. Alzay came from Wargla in southern Algeria. Much trade was through Wargla, the something Gog, Goa, the Niger, 200 miles east of Timbuktu. And we know where Timbuktu is. Timbuktu is, I'll go back to that, right here, Timbuktu. It says Timbuktu, the fifth Zayim priest accepted Islam in 1000 AD. So our people accepted Islam when they invaded in 100 AD. But it says the white Libyans ruled, continued till 1492 AD. Nobles were veiled as the Turks still are. So I'm assuming these so-called white Libyans were actually Europeans that were calling themselves, I guess, Libyans. Or they were Libyan because they probably invaded, conquered like the Arabs do, and go mix with the people. And then they claim the land, and and say it's their land. So they enslave or kill the Aboriginal of that land. They take the land, assume the people culture, and then call them the people. And this is what these white Libyans did. Because there's no such thing as white and black Libyans. It's just not. Libyans are Libyans. But in white supremacist mind, they think they can just change names, and which they do change names, and they change places. They give you, they'll take the land and call the name by themselves, by their own name. They change our names. How many times have they changed our name? Black, Negro, African American, Black, Negro, African American, a couple of other. Those are bywords. Talks about in Deuteronomy 28. So they've been naming us, the nerves that they've been naming us forever, just like they did our people, and just like they did our people in Africa that's still there. They invaded the land when they came together, the Europeans, and sliced up Africa like a chocolate cake, and then started distributing the land mass to themselves, and then they renamed the lands and renamed the people. And that's to keep us divided, because all these people here are the same people that Israelite that live in these areas. Until this day, they're still keeping us separate, because how they progress is divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. You nip that in the bud, they ain't got nothing going. They're destroyed. But as long as we allow them to divide us so they can conquer us, it's going to continue to happen until we wake up and say enough is enough. No more divide, no more conquering. We're going to separate and be liberated from you all. But we know that liberation is not going to come to the Most High. Y'all come back and destroy every last one of those nations. Because if he does not destroy those nations, they're never going to leave us alone. So he's going to have to, now I understand when he said he's going to utterly destroy all nations that had a hand in his oppressing his people, because they're not going to stop oppressing us, and he has to get rid of them. That's what he means, and I see it. So again, it's Niger here. I read that. Okay. Then you have here, you have Timbuktu, Lam, once a Hebrew colony or Jewish colony. You have Jewish kingdom of Ganata. See note at the end of this sheet. Now, I don't know if the Ghanas are the northern or southern kingdom. We also know there's another map that says the kingdom of Judah. So left to that is the medieval Jewish kingdom Kamori. And so I'm going to go ahead and read this sheet because it says Jewish kingdom of Ganata. See note at the end of this sheet. So I'm going to go over here. I'm not an expert on maps, but I can read this. I'm kind of trying to, again, I'm just trying to compare this map with the map of the CFA. Now here it says pre-exilic or pre-exile Yahism was in this area. It says Hebrew, Nubia. It says the Elephant Jews garrison 600 BC. Arabia, Falashis, Jews here. Then I'm going to go over here, Yemen Jews. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to read this. Jewish Kingdom Ganata or Ghana. Now remember, it talks about Timbuktu and Lala, once a Jewish colony, and also it mentioned this kingdom of Kamuri. Well, it's going to mention in this statement over here, this all tied together, all this right here, Timbuktu, Lam, and then Jewish kingdom of Ganata or Ghana, and the medieval Jewish kingdom of Kamuri. So it's going to say that kingdom of Kamuri is another offshoot from Ghana, came from Ghana, the same tribe or the same kingdom. So I'm going to go over here, and then it says, I hate that click, I'm going to have to get rid of that click. Jewish kingdom of Ganata or Taganat, founded 300 AD by white Libyan Berbers. The kingdom occupied the great lowland connecting the coastal caravan route with the upper Niger. Jews were on the coast in Philo times. 22 Berbers, Jewish kings reigned here before the Hagira or Barth. It says 44 it had reigned by 790 AD when the dynasty was overthrown. It means 44 kings of Ganata reigned by 790 AD when the dynasty was overthrown at Lam. Remember I just showed you right next to Timbuktu. Lam, 200 miles west of Timbuktu, West Africa. A Jewish trade oasis persisted till 1076 AD when they were overthrown by Muslim. It says Barth traveled in the North Africa. Third, the medieval Kamuri, remember Kamuri? It says was probably another remnant of the Jewish Tanakh. And remember Tagana is also Ganata. And it says that the Kanuri was probably another remnant of the Jewish Taganat, or Hebrew Isralite Taganat. It says Dr. J.J. Williams, S.J., author of the new memento work, Hebrewism and West Africa. Now, I'm assuming he's talking about the book because I have that book as well. I have so many books here, so I'm just starting to read a lot of them. Rights mean that Ghana was in 17 degree north latitude, 7 degree east longitude, west of Nima. This puts it about 270 miles west by north from the much later Timbuktu, 70 miles northwest of medieval Lamlam. And here we go over here, West Africa. These are the areas he's just talking about. Timbuktu, Lamlam, Ganata, and Kingdom of Kamuri, which is a offshoot, not offshoot, but also comes from Ganata, another it's Kanuri, Ganata, and Lamlam, and Timbuktu. So this is West Africa, you all. And I say, if Senegambia is here, and we know that this is the Central Africa, this is West Africa, then Timbuktu must have been in West Africa. Excuse me. My nose always feeling like, oh no, want to sneeze. Okay, so Timbuktu. Yes. So anyways, we have another thing I wanted to show too. Now the Tripoli, or Tropoli, it says tradition of garrison. Now this gentleman, this place here is where he went to do his study. And his study, I'm gonna read what he said out of his book. And this book is Traveling in North Africa by Nahum Slouschz. And in his introduction, I'm just read a little of it. It says here on forward, starting at the beginning of the book, it says, I was struck by the great importance of the problem of ethnic and historic origin of the various groups of the African Jews. Little attention had been paid to this problem, but I saw that the study of the question might well throw new light on the origin and history of the Judaism throughout the whole Mediterranean basin. On taking into consideration the conclusion reached by general African research, I realized that the special condition peculiar to Africa and the scarcity of the documents was sufficient to discourage the most zealous historic adventurer. So he was an historic adventurer, and he's going to prove himself, and he said he has the receipts to show. So at the bottom it says, however, the readers of this volume or this book may rest assured that it is not a labyrinth of ideals or theses which I have presented to them, but a clear and distinct exposition of the results of 10 years of study and research, wandering, and observation among the unknown Jews of Africa. The conclusion to which the facts set forth in this book have led me, as well as the present state of the known cities of Africa, will be treated in a volume devoted to the history of Jewish civilization in Africa. Jewish civilization in Africa. And again, this is by Nahum Slouschz, Travels in North Africa. He said he did 10 years of research. So he said he's not just throwing this off the, just saying that it's real or it's happening, or it's there in Africa. Jews are there in Africa. He said, I have proof. I have receipts to show it. Now his first chapter, I'm not going to go into it, but his first chapter is on Tropoli, the black Jews in Tropoli, right here. And I'm just going to read just the first maybe couple of sentences. It says, of all the towns of North Africa, Tripoli, the Barbary is perhaps the only one which has been able to retain its Eastern coloring and have remained really African, untouched by European civilization. And that was in 1909. So he's saying that they were never touched. They were the original people, meaning they had their original skin tone. They had not mixed with the Europeans. They were pure Hebrew Israelites with no mixture, he said. So anyway, I'm reading that book right now, and I'll be sharing some more out of both, but I want to do read it and also compare it to these maps. That's what I'm going to try to do. I'm not an expert. I'm just learning, y'all, but this is an experience for me. So anyway, he was in this area, Slouschz. What's his name again? Nahum Slouschz, and he was a Jewish man. And he did his research for 10 years in Africa regarding the black Jews, the Aboriginal people of the book. So his area consists of all up in here, because it talks about the garrison in his book, Traditional Jews Garrison. So anything around the Tripoli is in. He also traveled in all those areas. Again, it's right here. It says the Herman Hamapo. I'm trying to read that. This map is kind of covering up the word. It says, but Jayism 700B. And say right here it says Israel immigrant here, Israel immigrant here in 1100 through 700 BC. That's the Arabian. And remember, it says these red names is where Hebrew Israelites colonies was here in Africa, black Jews. See, I wanted to show something. This it says whatever is Leptis, 800 BC, Sidon, Israel, and they have colonies, Mannonian colonies here. Now, Mannonian colonies, remember, it says down here in the over here. I think that's where I seen it. Or was it this one? Or was it another place? Where did I see the Mannonians? It mentioned the Mannonians. Oh, I can't see. Where was that? I think it's up here. Yeah, right here. Mannonians, Phoenician, Mannonian ornaments still found. And these, again, talking about black Jews, traces of Jewish traces. So the Mannonian, it says up here. Well, I just see that. So I'm trying to familiarize myself. Tunisia right here, Tunisia. See, go over here. Garian. This is the Garian area. Barca colonies here. Mannonians right here. And it says during Solomon time. See here it says Solomon? Solomon time right here. And it says Solomon time, there was Jews here, and Tripoli here. I guess I'm probably good in the word, but anyway, this is the book, Traveling North Africa, and talking about the African tribes in these areas. Well, not African tribes, they was black Jews, or black Israelites, or Hebrew Israelite colonies. Right up in here. Sidon, Solomon time. During Solomon time, y'all. So they know who we are. They know who they were going to get when they went and sent ships out there to West Africa. They were going to get Hebrew Israelites. They were not going to get Africans, because African was not selling their own people. And I have a book that I was reading the other day that clearly says that they were not selling their own people, but they were selling foreigners that was in their land. And I have a book to prove that. And I'm going to read that out the next video I'm going to try to do, and get some more information out of these books and tie them into this map right here, along with the map of this one. There's other maps beside this one here. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and end this. I just thought I would share that. I thought it was interesting, and it's not over yet because I have a lot of books that ties into our people and being in these areas long before they came and got us from the Western countries. But they knew exactly who they were coming to get. They didn't go all over Africa. They went to one particular place, and that was West Africa and Central Africa. So anyway, I hope I made a little sense here. Like I said, I'm still learning how to do this stuff. I'm a new YouTuber, so bear with me. I'm learning. So anyways, I'm going to go ahead and end this. I say shalom and have a blessed evening.